This week we're heading to the Rock.
Start your engine!
No, not that Rock. This Rock is a place.
Do you believe that?
I mean a place you want to go to.
They haven't run this place since I was, before I can remember.
It's a place where magic has happened before.
You just want that for yourself.
And now it all begins again.
I'm excited. I'm optimistic.
We're going old school. Around the Track starts now.
The drivers are all saying the same thing. If you can smell what the Rock is cooking. Welcome to this very special edition of Around the Track. My name is Gabe McDonald, and with no Cup Series on the schedule this weekend, it's all about the boys and girls of the Xfinity Series, and we're heading to a classic track we haven't been to in years. It's Rockingham Speedway. A little bit of background for you coming up with a future Hall of Famer in Kasey Kahne, who's on the show today, as is a man looking to disrupt the Xfinity Series, driver of the 44, Brennan Poole. And we also have the most well-dressed man in NASCAR, Mr. Jordan Bianchi's back here on ATT to help us break it all down as well. But about 2 hours outside Charlotte Motor Speedway, you'll find NASCAR's newest legend with a facelift. Rockingham Speedway was a regular on the Xfinity Series schedule from 1982 until 2004. Tons of work has been done not only for the fan experience, but to the track as well, including a repave in which some drivers have already gotten a preview of what that will feel like here on this weekend. We'll have more on that in a second. While that might be a legendary track on the circuit, don't act like this is a throwback track. Get ready for a whole new rock coming up later today.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, they haven't run this place since I was, before I can remember. So I can't say I remember watching races live here as a kid, but it's really cool to always bring a place like this back. North Wilkesboro, obviously, another one that you kind of think of when you think of bringing places back to life. So that had a really positive turnout. So.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be here for that first coming back here in 12, so that was really cool. I remember that day. I was early in my career, so I was taking it all in and thought that year was really going to be it for me. I thought that for a lot of years, so coming back here to see what Bob Sargent and Track Enterprises crew is doing, it's great.
The place is fast, repave. It's kind of a typical repave of, really fast, a lot of on throttle time. Heat cycling tires and really big moments if you get, a little bit, out of shape. So it's a lot of fun. I'm just trying to get up to speed and looking for a little speed right now, but this place is fun.
It's awesome, man, to be back here at the Rock. Came in the tunnel, and I haven't been here since 2008, so it's been a while. I did an ARCA race here then, but I am definitely excited to be back here, and I think we're going to put on one great race for the fans.
Now, how can you even do track trends when we haven't had a race here since 2004? Well, you do it a little bit like this. Let's start with the guy calling the race this weekend. Shout out Jamie McMurray, who cannot be beat here. He won the last 4 races at the Rock before it left the schedule in the early 2000s. The only man in the starting lineup this weekend to make a start here in a top-tier series, well, that's Kasey Kahne. We'll speak with him in just a little bit. And you have roughly $15 million that has been poured into renovations here as of late, including that $3.5 million repaving of the track. Truck races did come back here briefly in 2012 and 2013, won by Kahne and some guy you might know. His name is Kyle Larson. Believe it or not, Rockingham Speedway is one of 9 active tracks that were on the NASCAR Xfinity Series inaugural season schedule back in 1982. Let's bring in an Around the Track original, the man with the best drip in the garage, as you can see here. He also has the most information he may or may not is supposed to have, the Athletics, Jordan Bianchi. Jordan, when's the last time you've been to Rockingham before this year?
I've actually never been before. My first trip to Rockingham will be for this Xfinity Series race. I'm excited to go. I've heard a lot of great things. Yeah,
definitely going to be a lot of excitement this weekend. It's a sellout crowd on Saturday for the epic return to racing at Rockingham. Jordan, we've already gone over the repave, the history of this place, which used to be called North Carolina Speedway. It's a 1.1 mile on the D-shaped oval. What should drivers be expecting once everyone gets there out here to the Rock?
It's a complete unknown because of that repave. Rockingham notoriously was a high tire wear track. Think Darlington, for example, like that. We don't know now how this is going to be. With the repave, tire wear should be as significant. We don't know how this is going to race. This is a big unknown. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be fun to watch, though.
Definitely going to make for some good racing soon. Now, the Cup Series is off this weekend for Easter, but that hasn't really stopped one of NASCAR's best from taking down the Xfinity Series. So Kyle Larson dominated again when he came down to show the drivers a thing or two in Bristol last weekend. Kyle said to the Kevin Harvick Happy Hour that he wants to, quote, quote, embarrass the Xfinity Series drivers and NASCAR by smashing the field in these Xfinity races. Now, of course, he's done just that every time he's come down. Jordan, how is everyone feeling about this and his dominance that he's had in the Xfinity?
It's impressive to watch, but I think the important thing here to see that is go beyond just his initial comments that I want to kick everyone's butt, right? I want to embarrass these guys because I want to show these guys in the second-tier series how a Cup Superstar races and teach them how to be better. That was the important message to pull out of that.
When you think of a lot of guys too that even compete in those series, you see Kyle Busch, you know, in the Truck Series and other drivers as well that we've seen historically. Just how much better does that make those Xfinity guys when they're able to move up to the next level?
It's huge because you teach racecraft. You learn how to manage different situations. You talk to guys who saw Kyle Larson race at Homestead in the Xfinity race, and they'll tell you, I got around that track better by watching him. So he just elevates everyone around him, and if you want to be a superstar like him, you have to replicate what he's doing.
As I always say, iron definitely sharpens
Yes.
iron. Well, someone else is coming back to the Xfinity Series this week, and that's Catherine Legg. She's going to be at Rockingham in the number 32 car for Jordan Anderson Racing. Now, she did get a taste of Cup Series racing earlier this season at Phoenix, and now she'll be up and down between Xfinity and Cup for the rest of the season. Jordan, what's in it for Legg in the Xfinity Series when she comes to Rockingham?
Yeah, I mean, she just needs reps. I mean, she needs experience in a stock car. She's an open-wheel driver, comes from that background. She hasn't had a lot of experience in these type of cars. Xfinity is a great spot to learn, get some reps, and we might see her. We're actually going to see her in some Cup races down the road too, on some road courses.
Yeah, absolutely. You got places like Mexico, and even coming to the Xfinity Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway as well later down in the season. But let's double back to Kyle Larson real quick and the Cup Series, because while Kyle is on a heater, he just cooled off someone else who was on one, and Denny Hamlin, who won back-to-back races. Let's take a look at the NASCAR standings now. They're both still trailing two other winners in 2025 in William Byron and Christopher Bell, who won 3 in a row earlier this year. Larson has led the most laps of anyone this season, though, with 502. Hamlin, 308. Now, both of them, of course, playoff bound, but who between the two will have the better season in 2025?
Probably Kyle Larson. Just you look at statistically, Larson does this year in and year out. Denny's had hot starts recently and kind of cooled off come the playoffs. Last year was a perfect example of that. You look at what that 5 team with Kyle Larson, crew chief Cliff Daniels does, you can just count on them having a dominant year in and year out.
And while the Cup Series is off this weekend, who's one guy that maybe you think has flown under the radar that could possibly make some noise once they get back racing to Talladega?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I continue to say this, Bubba Wallace. Like, people don't realize what a good start to the year he's off, but best of his career, and he's been in contention to win a couple of races now. Going to a track, by the way, he's won at before.
True.
He is due for 2 or 3 victories throughout the course of the season.
Definitely going to see how things shake out for Bubba in the 23 car and the rest of the Cup Series drivers when they get back to racing next weekend. Jordan, he's sticking around, not going anywhere, and we've got plenty to talk about, including a future Hall of Famer that's going to be running laps this weekend.
Everyone's aggressive, everybody wants to win, and there's a fine line, and like, do you cross it or do you not? How far do you go?
Though he's been away from NASCAR since 2018, there's nothing Kasey Kahne wants more than another checkered flag on his resume. Up next, how one of the sport's greats prepared to return to a track that he knows and loves. And busted up in Bristol. Do we have another short track issue, or do we have another tire issue? NASCAR's most opinionated are taking sides about what happened at Bristol. We've got some fixes for the playoff race coming up. And Jordan, you think you can pull off the bleach blonded hair like Brennan Poole?
No, no chance.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it.
I don't think anybody can, to be honest with you.
The driver of the 44 has been turning ahead so far on and off the track. We'll sit down with the Dash for Cash driver when Around the Track continues.
Welcome to NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Start your engine!
All we need is a little gasoline and a dream. Oh yeah, guys!
The NASCAR Xfinity Series, Saturday. Check your local listings.
Back here on Around the Track, and how does one fix Bristol Motor Speedway, or for that matter, NASCAR's short track program? Last week during practice, we thought we were backtracking with the tire wear as we saw the last great Coliseum last year. Tires were balding all the way down to the inner wires. Then came the race on Sunday, and we virtually had zero wear at all. Larson dominated, and it was another short track race that we were used to seeing. And of course, he dominated, leading over 400 laps to getting that win. Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic back with us again. Jordan, you've talked to NASCAR officials, you've talked with the teams. Is there a plan to fix the short track style of racing we've been seeing? Because not everyone's really been happy with it.
It's complicated. I mean, tires are probably the easiest, simplest way, and we thought we had a solution with that. The weather threw a curveball last week, and it was hotter on the race day than normal. That's why we didn't see the tire wear that we used to seeing. NASCAR is going to examine the car. They're going to try to maybe do some tweaks with the car, but really tires are the simplest way to make this car work on a short track. They're trying. Goodyear's going to have to continue to push for a softer tire compound. It's really the only way to ensure that you have good racing on short tracks.
And that PJ1 definitely played a big factor as well in Larson's dominance too. Well, moving to a future Hall of Famer, Kasey Kahne is one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, but a sudden departure from the sport in 2018 really had a lot of people wondering what could have been.
Yeah, I mean, great guy, great career, but still what could have been, and a career that ended shortly because of health issues. It's good to see him back, and hopefully, in victory lane one last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And after some time away from stock car racing, Kahne is back and ready to rock at a track that he knows all too well. In one of the last NASCAR races at Rockingham Speedway, this happened.
Kasey Kahne will win at the Rock.
Now just over a decade since that victory, NASCAR great Kasey Kahne is hopping back in a stock car to take part in a huge weekend for the sport.
I think when you take as much time off from these types of cars and then, get the urge and the excitement to do it again, it's, I think a lot about it.
However, it didn't take much thinking for Kahne to decide he wanted to run in the Xfinity Series race at the Rock. He was all in from the start.
I knew I was going to be racing sprint car this year, so I wanted to look at that schedule as well once they came out. And then as soon as both schedules were out, and I saw it was an open weekend from the High Limit Series, I was like, man, I definitely need to figure this out.
Kahne is now heading back to the site of his very first Xfinity start as he's set to pilot the number 33 Chevy for RCR this weekend. Rockingham is a place where the veteran driver has had triumph,
And it's driven by Kasey Kahne.
but also some tough luck as well. Nonetheless, it's still high on his list of favorite tracks.
So I've always felt good at this track, felt like it was a track that made a lot of sense to me, and excited to do it again and see how it goes. All four corners are different. It's just it's kind of it's a cool place, and to try to hit on all of it and be right there, it feels really good when you are.
Rockingham is now the latest NASCAR track that has seen a revival in recent years following North Wilkesboro and Bowman Gray. With a sold-out crowd expected this weekend for Kahne's return, he feels it's important for NASCAR to continue to pay homage to the sport's roots.
It's pretty neat to get some of those older tracks back involved in NASCAR and now Rockingham to get it back. I think it's I just always thought Rockingham was one of the best tracks that we went to when I was first, getting started. So back on the schedule is very good.
Thanks again to one of the sports legends for the time. Well, Jesse Love is revered by many as one of the next big names to get to NASCAR's top tier. And one team is giving him another chance to run with the big dogs this year. Find out who coming up next.
Doesn't really matter, right? Like, we go into every weekend, regardless of the circumstances, preparing and fighting to win.
And he's not on one of the major teams, yet he's always in the playoff hunt. Brennan Poole joins the show next. Tell us how, right here on Around the Track. Back here on Around the Track, and it looks like Jesse Love's Cup stint isn't over this year. Beard Motorsports assigned the Xfinity Series star to at least 2 more races. Love will pilot the number 62 in Texas and Indianapolis. Jesse, who's already locked into the Xfinity Series playoffs, made his Cup Series debut last Sunday at Bristol, completing the race and finishing in 31st. He drove the 33 for Richard Childress Racing, who he also drives for on Saturdays. Anthony Alfredo is the other driver to pilot the 62 this season for Beard Motorsports. And NASCAR's rapid growth is undeniable, especially with the Xfinity Series. However, the sport is looking for its next entitlement sponsor of the second highest series in racing. And look who is leading the charge. NBA super agent Rich Paul's Clutch Sports Management is spearheading the search. Sports Business Journal reports that Clutch has been working with NASCAR for years on a number of projects. That same report says the terms NASCAR is seeking at least $10 million annually for rights fees. And every racer has a story. For Team Alpha Prime's Brennan Poole, it's a story that starts in Texas, takes a bit of a pit stop, and continues in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he's leading an upstart team that's disrupting the status quo of the sport. Our Joey Ellis sat down with the driver of the 44 in this week's Garage Confidential.
All right, Brennan Poole drives the number 44 for Alpha Prime Racing, full-time in the Xfinity Series. Second season for you now with that team. I want to touch on that first, just kind of now having that first year under your belt, now into the second year. What's that marriage been like with the team?
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and getting to work with Frank Kerr, my crew chief, again for another year. And I feel like you get that first season under your belt, you really start to understand each other, and the communication gets better as the year goes on. And now my guys, Frank, they just understand sort of exactly what I'm looking for in the race car when we go back to a lot of these same racetracks. And so I feel like for us, we've been able to fire off right out of the gates here. We've been able to have a lot of really, really strong results these last 8 weeks after Daytona. So it's just been a lot of fun. I feel like everybody on this team has my back, and they know I've got theirs. And so when you have that trust, it just builds strength and helps you, start clicking off those good results and consistency every single week.
7th year now for you in the Xfinity. Just what have you learned about as it's gone on about what makes this series especially so intriguing, so competitive?
Well, I think the most exciting thing about the Xfinity Series is that you have a lot of veteran guys mixed in there with a lot of young rookies. And so, you have a lot of moments where there are guys learning some things and making mistakes, but then you have some really unbelievable racing where the veterans are just battling it out. And so it puts on sort of a really good show from everything, right? Where guys are making some mistakes, there's some crashes, some incidences, but then you've got side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel action, maybe guys making a move on another guy that you haven't seen before. Just creates a lot of excitement. And these veteran guys are sort of teaching these young guys and these new guys that are coming up through the ranks. So for me, that's what makes it a lot of fun. I love being able to sort of outrace some of these younger guys and sort of show them what it takes to be competitive in the Xfinity Series.
Going back to Bristol, first off, really scary accident you and Sheldon find yourselves involved in. First off, are you okay? But secondly, just kind of what happened and how that unfolded from your perspective.
Yeah, Bristol's just such a fast racetrack, and you don't have a whole lot of time from when something happens to react. A lap time there is only 15 seconds, so you got to realize, 5 seconds you've already ran a third of the lap, basically, or whatever. It's crazy. So when the accident happened, I just heard, bottom, and immediately I just go back to the brakes. But where it happened, I was already back wide open in the throttle, trying to carry as much momentum off turn 4 as I could. So I just jumped to the brakes, and the 0-0 was in the middle of the track. You can only make the car go so far left and so quick. So I spun the car out to try to, lessen the blow. But yeah, it was a pretty big hit. I thought at first I might have been pretty hurt, but just bruised ribs. So I've been staying on top of it, and it seems like everything's going in the right direction, and I expect to be back to 100% by Friday when I have to get in the race car.
So another big race upcoming, and obviously a historic one with NASCAR set to return to a place like Rockingham. For you, just being around the sport, what do you know about it, and what's the excitement level just to get there?
Well, I've raced there before. I've won there before in 2011, so my name is on the rock, which is pretty cool. I'm not so sure how accurate this is, but I think only me and Kasey Kahne are the only guys in the field that have won there before, so that's pretty cool. So I think going in there, it's not like extra confidence, but it is like a little bit of like, I don't know, it's like swag in a way, right? Like I'm going back to a place where I've been in victory lane before. I've celebrated there, so I feel confident even, after doing the test, they repaved the track, so there are some differences. But we had a really good test, and we were pretty solid, pretty quick that entire day. So I feel strong going into Rockingham. I love these older, short track type style tracks that just have so much character and make it a lot of fun to race at. So I expect it to be one of the best races of the year.
All right, Brendan Poole, we appreciate you for doing this today. Stay healthy, stay safe, and good luck at Rockingham.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again to Brendan for the time, and one last lap to take, but when we return, the Rock awaits. Victory Lane here is going to be very different for a number of reasons, but whose car is going to be in it? Our picks and the sportsbook odds of win around the track continues. Well, folks, the chaos is going down next week because we're going super speedway racing. Talladega next on the schedule for us, so we're bringing in a guy who knows a thing or two about Dega. 2311's own Bubba Wallace will join the show next week. Plus, we got plenty to talk about in the Xfinity Series as well. That's next week right here on Around the Track. Be sure to check your local listings for when you can watch ATT on your local Nexstar station across the country. All right, time to see who has Vegas has rocking the Rock on set today. Justin Allgaier is a heavy favorite to take the checkered flag at +240. He's followed by Sheldon Creed at 7-1. Austin Hill, Jesse Love, and Sam Mayer all at 7.5-1. Then you have not pictured here, but certainly noteworthy, Kasey Kahne, the only guy in the lineup to ever win here. He's also at 7.5-1 to get it done and take that checkered flag in NASCAR's return to the Rock. We're heading towards the finish line here, so we got to put in our picks for the very first Xfinity Series race at the Rock since 2004. It's a big milestone here, Jordan. Have at it. Who you got winning the race?
I'm going to go with 18-year-old Connor Zilic.
Okay.
All year long, this wonder kid has kind of been on his back foot a little bit, going to a lot of tracks he doesn't have experience on. Now they're going to a track where they all have equal experience.
Yeah.
I think he's going to show people why he's a blue-chip prospect and regarded as NASCAR's next superstar.
Hey, certainly one of the top guys, on the come up right now. And the guy wasn't even born the last time they raced here in the Xfinity Series, so it would be cool to see him get that checkered flag this weekend. Well, old school track, I'm going with an old school driver. Give me Justin Allgaier. I know it's the easy pick, but I like him to take the checkered flag at the Rock. Of course, an old school veteran heading back to a place that has a lot of history. Already has 2 wins under his belt so far this year, but he had 3 consecutive third-place finishes in the Xfinity Series over the past several weeks. I think he snaps that streak and gets back into victory lane and takes that checkered flag. But it's going to be a very fun race. What are some other things that you're looking forward to heading to the Rock?
Let's see how tires wear. Let's see how these guys race. Can you pass? And how important are pit stops? We may see a lot of green flag pit stops.
Yeah.
Inexperienced pit crews, inexperienced drivers on pit road. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely all the newness of the track and just being able to head back to it, certainly going to make for a very fun weekend. Well, thanks for tuning in to Around the Track. Enjoy a special weekend at Rockingham and Happy Easter to all of you at home. We'll see you back there next week as we look ahead to Talladega.